at the time that they make their appearance at 2 o'clock today, they will be informed of their charges. They will be appointed an attorney if they are eligible for that. Bail will be set, and that's about, and then further, a schedule for further hearings will be set. They will not be asked to enter a plea on those charges at that time. The charges that I just outlined for you are the ones I anticipate. They have not yet been formally filed with the court. When they are formally filed with the court, we will send out a press release and enclose a copy of the charges to all of the media and who are on our normal fax, as well as others who have approached me. Any questions that you've got at this time on that? Okay, thank you.
I'd like to thank Lieutenant Jason Nelson and our teams of detectives and officers for their efforts around the clock thus far. We still have a lot of investigating to do to put the puzzle pieces together in this case. Thank you to the volunteers who gave of their time and effort trying to find Savannah. And our sincere condolences, thoughts, and prayers go out to the Graywind family as they suffer through this horrible loss. As the chief, I speak on behalf of the men and women of the Fargo Police Department, and I'll tell you that our hearts are heavy as we mourn the loss of this young lady. As law enforcement, through our investigative efforts, we will continue to pursue justice for Savannah. Savannah was the victim of a cruel and vicious act of depravity. Lieutenant Jason Nelson is here to answer questions regarding the investigation.
Good morning. Before we start answering any questions, I'd like to thank my staff, all the other jurisdictions that have helped us both locally and federally and across state lines, and also several fire departments were also involved with preliminary searches and the recovery yesterday. So thank you to everyone that helped in this. We would not be here today if we wouldn't have had all that cooperation. I'll be very limited in what I can answer, but I am willing to take some questions.
Jason, what brought you to the farmstead that was being searched simultaneously as the kayak discovered the body?
The question was what brought us to the farmstead that may be a crime scene. That area was being searched by citizens after we had asked for help. We had no indication through the investigation that that may be a crime scene, but after searchers were there, they called with some suspicious items, and that's what prompted Clay County to respond to that area.
Was that farm occupied at the time you found the suspicious items?
The question is if the farm was occupied at that time. No, it appears to be abandoned.
What were the suspicious items?
The question was what were the suspicious items. I'm not going to get into that. Thank you.
Were the kayakers a part of the search at that time, or were they just happened to be?
I believe the question was the kayakers' involvement, is whether they were part of the search party or out there recreationally. At this point, it sounds like they were there recreationally.
Do you have any idea, again, you may not be able to answer this, was this potentially the scene of the death?
The question is if this area was the scene of Savannah's death. I can't answer that at this time. Currently, BCA and Clay County and Fargo PD are working together to try to determine that.
Is it a crime of fetal abduction, or was it a natural birth?
The question was this a natural birth or fetal abduction? Again, I can't get into that because of the investigation.
Lieutenant Nelson, do you believe there are any other suspects, or are you looking for any other people who might be involved here?
Question was, do we believe there's any other suspects? At this point, we have no indication that there's any other suspects involved in this crime. The question is whether or not this is a federal investigation. I can tell you that our partners with different federal agencies have been assisting us since the beginning of this. Whether or not it goes into a federal court, that will be determined by the U.S. Attorney and Cass County State's Attorney Birch Burdick. There's several factors that come into that.
You have crime scenes in 2 states. Is there a question of jurisdiction where the case would end up?
I'll refer that to Birch if
Would you repeat the question?
If there are crime scenes in two states, it's a question of jurisdiction. Which state would the case go to?
The question was, if there are crime scenes in two states, to which jurisdiction would the case go? Without having all of the details right now, that's sort of a premature, it's a good question, but it's sort of premature to answer it. As Detective Nelson has indicated, we have also been in communication with prosecutors both in Clay County and the U.S. Attorney's Office. They're all well aware of what the situation of the case is right now. We believe that the jurisdiction is appropriately in Cass County District Court at this time. If there's other information which comes to light that gives us an opportunity to think about this in a different way, then we will look at that and assess what may be appropriate when we have that information and under what circumstances.
Would that lead to the thought that the murder did occur in Cass County then, and the body was delivered later?
The question was, did my prior comments imply, I think it was, did my prior comments imply that the murder occurred in Cass County? What I'm telling you is we have charged it as a conspiracy to commit murder. A conspiracy requires an agreement with one or others to do things which are otherwise unlawful, and somebody takes an overt act in furtherance of that conspiracy. That's how it's charged right now. That's the best answer I have for you right now, Paul.
Are there potentially other suspects in this case, other than two people currently out of charge?
The question is if there's potential other suspects. By no means is this case closed. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but at this time we have no indication that there's any other party involved.
Lieutenant, I think you kind of answered this, but I just want to make it absolutely clear. The question, was there any indication from the state of the victim's body that the baby had been delivered by a cesarean section?
The question was whether or not the baby was delivered via C-section. At this point, I can't comment on that. Savannah is down in St. Paul at this time awaiting an autopsy.
The question was, could I clarify what might cause there to be federal jurisdiction in this case? My answer to that is it's premature for me to go into that right now. To tell you that might be speculating as to what might happen here, and I don't wish to do that until we have information that would make it appropriate to do that. As I earlier indicated, I've been and law enforcement has as well, been in close contact with federal authorities about it. For me, the U.S. Attorney, I am familiar with some of his thoughts about the jurisdictional issues, but I am not an expert in federal jurisdiction, and he is. At this point, I think it unlikely that he will provide a whole lot of information about that, but I communicated with him this morning on the matter as well as over the course of the last several days. So I think we just need to await facts. We think it's completely appropriate to move forward right now in Cass County in state court. If further information comes to us that leads us to believe that there are other jurisdictions that may be appropriate, then I will sit down with those jurisdictions, we'll figure out what that means, and if there is anything we should do about it. Right now, we think we've got appropriate charges that we'll move forward on starting this afternoon.
Lieutenant,
Yes, sir.
been able to actually confirm the parentage of the baby yet?
No, we have not. We've been working with the State Crime Lab to determine that. That's a lengthy process.
Physical evidence found that the two suspects in custody are definitely responsible?
Repeat the question, please.
Was there physical evidence found that guarantees that the two suspects in custody were involved and responsible?
The question was, is there physical evidence to support the arrest and charging of the two suspects? I'm not going to get into the details of the case. I'm sorry. Question. Ramsey County is who does, the question was why Savannah was brought to Ramsey County for autopsy. Ramsey County is who does the autopsies for any Minnesota law enforcement jurisdiction. Question?
Can you shed any light into why Cruz, after allegedly doing this crime, being involved in it, go back to her apartment in the first place?
Question was if I have any knowledge on why Brooke Cruz would return to her apartment after this crime, and I have no firsthand knowledge on that, so I can't answer that.
Robert Lieutenant, there was apparently in the court files, there was apparently an outstanding bench warrant for Mr. Owen. He was arrested and then released on the 23rd. Was that part of this investigation? Is that how you picked him up, or was that just happenstance, or did you just need to bring him in and have a reason to talk to him?
William was arrested on an outstanding warrant and brought to the Cass County Jail for that Tuesday night. And patrol was aware that he had an outstanding warrant, and they are the ones that arrested him for that.
I believe it was said earlier, Lieutenant, that the searches of the whole apartment. Is that correct?
The question was if there was 3 searches of William and Brooke's apartment, and yes, our patrol officers searched that apartment for Savannah twice on Saturday after the report, and then a detective also searched for Savannah on Sunday.
Was there any sign of a child at that point?
No indication of Savannah or a child in those 3 searches.
Was there any evidence of someone attempting to conceal a crime scene?
The question was there any indication someone was trying to conceal a crime scene? At that point, no.
Were they cooperative at that point?
Yes, the answer is if they were cooperative, I'd say yes, they were.
Have they been cooperative since they've been in custody?
Question was if they've been cooperative since they've been in custody, and I'm not going to elaborate on that. Time for about 2 more questions.
The fire department had been searching a stretch of the river for a few days prior to last night. Was there any indication or any specific reason that your department had asked them to search the river?
Question was basically a reason for the fire department searching the Red River this past week. Again, because of the investigation, I'm not going to get into that with you, Drew. One more question.
Do you have any estimate of when the autopsy results will be back?
Officially, the question was when will the autopsy results be back? Typically, official reports are weeks, if not months later. We should have preliminary information for investigative reasons later today or later tomorrow. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to the chief.
Found the agencies that are working on it, Jason, just so we...
Question was agencies working on it. I'm going to probably forget a few, but there's a couple federal agencies we've been working with. We've been working with West Fargo PD, Moorhead PD, Cass, Clay County, several other jurisdictions that have been helping us out with this investigation. So, correct, BCI and BCA. Thank you, guys. Chief?